The Las Vegas Raiders have launched their head coaching search after firing Pete Carroll, and while I've discussed some candidates I think who would be a good fit, there is a new one who is kind of coming to the fold that I want to talk about. It was reported that the Raiders have interviewed Broncos pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach Davis Webb, which is a very interesting name. Webb is only 30, and a lot of you will remember him from his playing days. He was kind of a career backup. He recently went into coaching a few years ago and was kind of taken under Sean Payton's wing. Webb has kind of been mentioned as an under-the-radar candidate, but since he's so young and has such little experience, he wasn't really taken serious as somebody who would get a ton of interviews. Even when we've seen 30-year-old head coaches getting jobs like Sean McVay, he was a coordinator, he had called plays, he had kind of been in coaching for a while. Webb has been in football his whole life, but he just recently started coaching. He hasn't called plays, and he's only kind of worked under one system with Peyton. That said, I think this is a very kind of cool and interesting move by the Raiders. If you kind of look at their history, they've had a lot of success with kind of plucking these young coaches who maybe a lot of people didn't think were ready, but they brought him in and they ended up having a lot of success. Look at John Madden. He was 32 when the Raiders hired him, and he's one of the greatest coaches ever. John Gruden, I mean, say what you want, his first tenure with the Raiders was really impressive, and he is also really young. You can even say Al Davis's decision to give Lane Kiffin a chance was actually a really clever idea. I mean, Lane Kiffin's clearly a real coach, and he probably just wasn't ready at that time, but Davis was spot on about him being a future head coach. Everything we're seeing about Webb kind of points to him being a kind of rising star in the coaching ranks. You can never really trust superstar players and superstar athletes kind of becoming coaches because the game is so easy for them. However, a lot of the best coaches were former kind of backup players, or they only played in college. Like, a lot of the greatest coaches weren't great NFL players. Somebody like DeMeco Ryans is an outlier. Most of the great coaches are like Andy Reid, who played offensive line in college but never really made a big name for themselves on the field. Now, I totally understand the argument that the Raiders can't really consider Webb yet just because he's so young and so raw and he hasn't called plays, but my kind of line of thinking is, why not? The Raiders are a year away from being a year away. Why not kind of maybe give somebody like Webb a chance to grow with the job and kind of grow with the roster? It'd be a huge risk, but I mean, Pete Carroll looked like the safe hire, and that was a total disaster. Plus, if the Raiders think Webb is awesome, I mean, there's a chance he could get hired this offseason or next offseason or the offseason after, and then the Raiders hire a coach that they don't end up liking. He lasts 2 years, but then Webb isn't available. My line of thinking here is that if you think he has a bright future as a head coach, you think he could be a McVay or Kevin O'Connell or one of these like great up-and-coming young head coaches, why not just take the swing on him? If the Raiders end up hiring Webb, I would not fault them at all. I think it's super interesting, and it makes them one of the most exciting kind of up-and-coming teams in the NFL.